Hello, it's Dean here to give you an overview of the Skimmer Box, which is another tool available to you in rangeland self-herding. Whilst I'm here to take you through these slides, its design and how you would go about using it is heavily shaped by the expertise of Bruce Maynard, building on what he's developed in stress-free stockmanship. If ever you've thought it would be handy to collect a small number of animals at any point in time, almost with minimal notice, definitely with minimal effort and minimal expense, then the Skimmer Box is something you might like to consider. So these slides here just give you a quick overview of its layout and how you would go about using it. And we'd love to have a more in-depth conversation with you if you're interested in implementing it at your place. This is the overall layout and design. The key point I want to make at this point with you is that the inside working yards do not have to be this shape or with gates in this arrangement. This is just a diagram to represent what you might already have around a water point, for example. You don't need to have double gates in this arrangement, but one point we would make is that it can be very beneficial if you had an in and an out gate that weren't adjacent to each other, because if animals have learnt about flowing through these inside working yards, then it can be very helpful and beneficial with the implementation of the Skimmer Box on the day that you want to collect animals. The outside fences are simple gates. The distance from the inside working yards is something that would depend entirely on your local situation and the particular animals that you will be working with. Here are some dot points that I'll let you read that make the main points around the Skimmer Box. So this diagram shows you two layouts, clockwise or anti-clockwise. It makes no difference what you use. It's just to reflect that you may have a different setup with working yards already, and you would use that to then influence the final layout of the Skimmer Box around the outside. These points here are very important because they emphasize that it's the way you use the Skimmer Box that will determine the success. Let's not get caught in thinking that it's the design and structures in their own right that will lead to successful gathering of animals. It's sure the use of the infrastructure, but the way in which they're used and how you interact with the animals that will have a very important influence on the outcome. This animation shows you what you would be doing on a normal day where you have no intention of gathering animals, but for example, just inspecting the water on a standard mill run. So this sets up a procedure that animals become familiar with no negative consequence. They see you arrive, their movement is reduced by these four parallel movements, and you randomly opening and closing gates 1, 2 and 3 lets the animals know that a gate being closed or a gate being opened is not a sign of anything strange about to happen. It's just what happens as a normal part of the day when you visit. The next animation shows you what you would do on the day that you decide to gather some of the animals. And you'll notice that the first set of movements are identical to what is shown on this slide, except you're now closing the outside gates. So you can see a pretty simple procedure. The first set of steps, the green paths that you would follow, are identical to what the animals have seen you do many times before. You're now closing all of the gates, but remember they've been familiar with gates opening and closing in the past. And then the orange and the final red sweep is simply a matter of closing the internal gates and walking or driving with the animals into those centre yards until the job's done. It really does create some new opportunities for the way we interact with our animals and the flexibility in how many we have in any given area. Until we talk again, bye for now.